And another day, another dollar. I just wonder how society's coping knowing that the 3DS and Wii U eShop is now weeks away from closing for good. How did that last one get in there? Hydroventure spin cycle, or fluidity spin cycle. This model up to the Wii U game is you tilting the system to control a pool of water of a water spirit called Eddy, and you save rainbow spirits through an encyclopedia covered with goop. The spirits help get more context about controlling the pool of water, and though the gyro controls do polarize some, even going as far as to make it tilt the 3DS upside down, they make a lot of sense for this kind of game, as if you're carrying a huge bowl of water yourself, and you really want to make sure no drop of water is left behind. The level design takes the controls into consideration perfectly, and there are also some neat secrets. So Spin Cycle is a good recommendation, and is something you don't see with most games in this nature anymore. Tank Troopers, a late addition to the eShop, releasing over here weeks before the Switch and Breath of the Wild came out. This is your standard third-person tank shooting game, where you either tackle multiple varied missions, or face off against other tanks with other opponents. Just like Steel Diver from last time, I don't have any strong opinions with this game. It controls well enough, even having gyro controls, which really benefits aiming at your target, and has decent variety with the tanks and characters. Yeah, the game doesn't have online multiplayer, since who the heck would do that in 2017, and after hearing about recent discoveries, maybe that's for the best. Aside that, it's not amazing, but unique enough to at least glance at. Ironfall Invasion, a free-to-play Gears of War wannabe. While the graphics are impressive for the 3DS, everything looks like it was smeared with Vaseline at the same time. And since these are just the cutscenes, the Oscar-worthy voice acting already serves as a warning for what's yet to come.
Jim, take cover. They're here.
Careful, Sam. Nasty little brutes.
As for the gameplay itself, it's bad. It controls like any typical third-person shooter, but to control the camera and aim your weapon, you use the touchscreen unless you have a Circle Pad Pro or new 3DS. And it should have been only on new 3DS, as the touch controls are agonizing. It's already bad enough struggling to shoot down one robot, but if you make turning left feel like a chore, you know you screwed up. Not to mention this control setup murders your wrist. It'll be less painful to have your hands cut off. Since it's free to play, it's got a whole bunch of levels behind a paywall, so don't even bother installing this game, let alone purchase the DLC. Thanks for playing the Ironfall Invasion demo, you're not welcome. You know, if you avoid all the political stuff, Twitter ain't so bad. HarmonKnight, an auto-runner rhythm game by Game Freak. Remember when their games have polish? Here you control Tempo, who automatically runs through scrolling levels, and you attack and jump in beat to the music. It's great fun, the gameplay is easy to grasp, and can give a good challenge if you want to perfect each stage. All the characters have a good amount of charm, like the rabbit's called Tappy, how can you hate that? But most of all, the music's great. Despite fetching an unusually high price for a 3DS eShop game, you have a nice amount of content, upbeat gameplay, and is a great hidden gem on the eShop. Pocket Card Jockey, another one by Game Freak, that for some reason took forever to come to the West. Here you're a jockey wanting to achieve their dream goals, and to do that, you play solitaire during the races. The story is quite tongue-in-cheek, and though the combination of horse racing and solitaire can be off-putting at first, and with recent events, can you blame me? But after a while, it surprisingly works. During the races, you play box standard solitaire, and afterwards cut to a climax of you bringing your horse to the finish line. This game also has some great depth too, as your actions in solitaire will affect the outcome of the race. The comfort zones on the track increase the solitaire difficulty, and your horse's enthusiasm will increase to guarantee your win, with great risk and reward elements. You can raise more horses, have them breed after retiring, and have their offsprings rinse and repeat. This is a surprise hit on the eShop, with one of the most creative game designs I've seen in a while. and is one I can safely recommend to horse racing and car game enthusiasts alike. It is getting a sequel in Apple Arcade, but I think the original is where it's at. Shut up. Project Zero Maiden of Blackwater, a unique survival horror game where you control 3 different characters exploring multiple environments within a mountain known for many disappearances. I have to say, the graphics look great, and succeeds in having an unsettling atmosphere for each of the levels. But the scariest part of the whole game is that you move at a snail's pace! I want my mommy! Throughout your experience, you constantly have ghosts show up in your way, and your only means of defense is the camera obscura. For this, you use the gamepad to take pictures to get rid of them, and can give even more damage by hitting their weak spot. It's like the Haunting mixed with Pokemon Snap. Smile! The gamepad itself controls well and feels perfectly natural as the camera, which feels that more satisfying when repelling the ghosts. The game even has enough horror elements to make picking up items intimidating.
Never follow after the shadow of someone. You might end up seeing something you wish you hadn't.
What? My prom photos? The first couple of chapters are free, and you need to pay for the rest. It does have an incredibly limited low-print physical release here in PAL territories, but recently went multi-platform, which is great to know, but do they have their Zelda and Samus costumes? It's not the scariest game out there, but sinister enough for horror fans to check out. Another game that takes great advantage of the Wii U gamepad, Affordable Space Adventures, which has you in a small ship exploring vast out-of-this-world environments. The presentation is top-notch, especially with the opening nailing the infomercial aesthetic, and menus and loading screens making you explore feel that more like a real-life brand. However, the true star of the show is how it uses the gamepad. For this, all of your commands are on the gamepad, both touch and button. These controls feel natural, as if you really are controlling the vessel, from adjusting its speed, mass, and even swapping between engines. But best of all, the puzzles take these controls into account perfectly. They really make you think carefully about how you traverse these unpredictable environments, and because of them, gives a really good challenge. In fact, it got a free update adding more levels expanding the game's lore. This feels like it was made for the Wii U, and it can't be replicated anywhere else, so recommending this game is a no-brainer, and is one of the best the Wii U has to offer, period. The events of WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness all could have been prevented if Wanda just bought a Switch with Animal Crossing. The Temperament They Came by Wave. This is a unique RPG by Genius Sonority, where you use the 3DS's camera to catch Temperament to bring along to your journey. They're always floating around, watching you. They know what you did last summer. For the game itself, you explore through Dragon Quest-inspired dungeons to fight off enemies in typical RPG turn-based combat. The Temperament themselves have their own strengths and weaknesses depending on the color of their suits and antennas giving them different abilities. Although the enemies can be ridiculously challenging at times, and the initial trailers raising more questions than a university lecture about black holes, this is a neat title and takes great advantage of the 3DS's AR. Its sequel, Beyond the Waves, is just like the original, but is more expanded upon with a full-on overworld. And the third game, The Rise of Digitoll, being even more expanded upon. In fact, over in Japan, there's a free-to-play game. Sadly, none of these have a physical release, so you may want to pick these up, and RPG fans will definitely get a kick out of them. Liberation Maiden, another installment to Level 5's Guild series, with this being developed by Suda51 of No More Heroes fame. You play as New Japan's president in a mech taking down an invading country stealing Japan's energy in good old mecha anime fashion. You use the circle pad to move around and touchscreen to lock on targets. They are nicely tight and flexible, making navigating each level a breeze. But Dad, you're a hypocrite, as that's exactly why you hated Ironfall Invasion. Yeah, but those controls were sluggish and the game itself was as slow as a theme park parade. Yet Liberation Maiden here is more fast-paced and arcadey. I will admit it does strain your hands after long play periods, but it's meant to be more of a pick-up-and-play kind of game. On top of that, there is a surprising amount of production values for an eShop game. It's short, but great to get out once in a while, and it's pretty awesome. Was all this because they had to buy Lift to Smash? 3D Classics Xevious, a third-party addition to the line by Namco. For this shoot-em-up, you have two weapons, one to take care of flying ships, and bombs for bases and land vehicles on ground. The 3D works perfectly to differentiate the perspective of the scene, and even has clouds to fill up the screen, as it is a vertical shooter. This is a great take on this classic, and benefits even more thanks to the 3D. Just don't play it to full volume. And finally, TwinBee by Konami, which works just like Xevious with its own unique charm, gimmicks, and identity. Unlike Xevious, which uses the arcade release, TwinBee is the Famicom port, which is kinda lame and is stuck in a 4x3 screen. But then again, it's by Konami, so what did you expect? The 3D effect once again benefits the gameplay of differentiating the airborne and grounded enemies, and can be satisfying when getting power-ups, wiping out everything in sight. Not as good as Xevious, but still an interesting release. And that's all of Eureka's 3D Classics games covered. Pretty anticlimactic ending, huh? But before we move on to our next game, do you want to hear the most annoying sounds in the world? Klonoa Empire of Dreams, a handheld spin-off on GBA. You here have Klonoa explore open-ended levels, finding 3 stars to progress. It does a decent job at replicating Klonoa on an inferior handheld at the time, even though it lacks the 2.5D gameplay the series is best known for. But even then, it showcases the GBA pseudo 3D capabilities quite well, and an early GBA game at that. The game itself is nice, laid back, and pretty charming. With the recent Fantasy Reverie remasters just out, it's safe to say that Bandai Namco have yet to forget this dog, rabbit, whatever species Klonoa is. Hopefully this follows too, and re-release the volleyball game too, you cowards. I really miss the Area 51 raid meme. Another neat part of the Virtual Console has to be the Game Boy Mega Man games. Very interesting adventures with the Blue Bomber. Sorry, I meant Puke Green Bomber. Why do I have 93 subscribers? Whilst the first 4 games are more or less remixes of the NES games, the 5th one is completely original with brand new robot masters and everything. Capcom did plan on releasing colored versions of these games as a compilation on GBA, but was cancelled. Yet again, we'll likely see a compilation on Switch or something. So Mega Man fans watching will want to check these out. Especially 5, and is a good breath of fresh air compared to your normal Mega Man games. Did you know you could get Game Gear games on 3DS? On top of the 3D Classics line adding stereoscopic 3D to some Sega classics, we also got Game Gear games as part of Virtual Console. These are really cool as you don't often see Game Gear re-releases these days. Alongside the unique 8-bit Sonic games, we also have a neat Shinobi game, Columns which fills my Tetris void well enough, Vampire Master of Darkness is a solid Castlevania-like, Dragon Crystal, a decent early roguelike game which fans of the genre could get a kick out of, and a great handheld take on Shining Force. It's fantastic to see these games offered here, and have Sega re-release something that isn't the Mega Drive for once. And it's at least still better than those stupid mini-consoles released a couple years back, and it's looking unlikely for Sega to re-release these games in the near future, so you may want to stock up on these games. I swear if I hear that clock chime one more time, I'm gonna— Back around 2013, Bandai Namco released Soul Calibur 2 HD Online for Xbox 360 and PS3, a remaster of the classic with all game modes and Heihachi and Spawn added in, but unfortunately it never came to Wii U, leaving Link stranded on the GameCube port. Yeah, the joke's on them since it got delisted. But don't fray Wii U owners, cause we have Steel Rivals instead, and what a hideous splash screen. Maybe the game itself could be awesome, and I've never been proven so wrong this fast in my whole life. I could go on about the menu itself, but I don't have 41 years, so let's set the AI to normal, pick out to the stock screaming character roster, and actually play the game. Well, I would if the AI stopped speaking the daylight out of me. Okay, I'll set it to easy, and you know what they say? Pictures say 1,000 words. Like, what do I have to comment? The health bar is minuscule, which is a crime for fighting games. You only have 2 buttons for attacking. The attacks themselves are horrendously slow and don't hit at the time. Like look, that clearly hit you! You jump like you're on the moon, the difficulty's more imbalanced than the Force, and above all, it's just as ugly as her. Who made this anyway? I should have known. World renowned for such classics as Maze Break and RTO, New Game have a monopoly of poorly programmed and rust-out shovelware on the 3DS and Wii U eShop, which astonishes me that Nintendo approved them at all, which is made even worse by the prices they usually fetch for. For example, this game is £6. You could have gotten any of the Street Fighter SNES games for less. Calling it highway robbery would be a compliment. You'd rather be beat up in real life. Nintendo. Remaking Urban Champion for the 3D Classics line was one thing, but giving this monotonous freak of nature the A-OK is something else. High quality visuals, yeah, keep telling yourself that. Now to go to my personal favorite game mode, Quit, as that's all you most likely want to do with this game anyway. Go home, Nintendo. I'll give you a ride back. Just pull the plug and get it over with! On the 3DS and Wii U, there were a good handful of games that received updates throughout the years, and since updates are spared from the upcoming closure, it's only a matter of time before they follow suit. And here are some interesting picks. Metal Gear Solid 3D Snake Eater, which boosts the game's performance, even though there are better ways of playing this game in my humble opinion. Smash for 3DS and Wii U, where the 3DS version has the Duck on stage from the Wii U version, and Wii U giving you Miiverse. I probably should have mentioned these when I covered that game's DLC, but whatever. Yet the biggest one of the lot is Animal Crossing New Leaf's Welcome Amiibo update. The gratitude I have for Animal Crossing cannot be expressed enough. Sure, I had Wild World back in the day, but I never really appreciated this franchise until I got New Leaf a couple years back in college. The cozy gameplay is great to put on from time to time, fast customizability, and the villagers! I don't think I've had a deeper bond with anyone else. And in case you were wondering, I got friends. All 10 seasons. But the Welcome Amiibo update adds so much more to an already stacked game, mainly due to Animal Crossing's Amiibo line not setting the world on fire, and also in the update, you get new characters like Harvey and Wisp that promote the Amiibo support, and the Amiibo themselves giving you special items, including an Amiibo Festival minigame and the cajillionth way to play Puzzle League. Nintendo, make a new Puzzle League! Why? You got like 4 ways of playing it on 3DS alone, you greedy pigs! Harvey runs the campsite for special characters to sell items, and Wisp here allows you to scan Amiibo cards to invite villagers to the campsite, and even have them move to your village. A mechanic best later seen in New Horizons. Heck, Nintendo made special RV Amiibo cards with this update, and you could use certain Zelda, Splatoon, and even Monster Hunter Amiibo to invite special villagers. And that's not including the other new items and quality of life improvements. Now this is an update on right, and adds more to an otherwise complete game. Unlike you, New Horizons! There was once a man for men. I can't take this anymore! Sure, you can take off adding phones, I can understand that, but removing all of these games? Why? And worst of all, they mostly have nowhere else to go after this, so you're essentially killing legacies upon legacies! And that's not even covering the second-hand market! Like, have you seen how much Triple's been going for? Well, I've had it. No more! Now, if you excuse me, I'm going back to where it all began. June 2011.